Hi there, welcome to Cocktail Mode, the podcast where me, Andy, and my mate Dave take a retro game, talk about it at length, and then right at the end, pick a cocktail that somehow goes along with it. Today we are talking about Soul Blade. I guess a bit of a double header today, because it's Soul Blade and Soul Calibur, because luckily they both fit into our version of what we consider retro.
They're also inseparable. You can't talk about Soul Blade and not carry on with Soul Calibur.
Dave has a great point. They are a brilliant evolution of a concept and fantastic games. We do mention the other games in the series briefly, but only briefly, because A, they don't meet our version of what's retro, and B, most of them aren't very good. So I have a bit more of that in a minute.
Did you notice I bought Tomb Raider Remastered?
Oh, you told me. I haven't, but I haven't gone and looked at it. I've been playing too much Soul Calibur.
Ah, it is a great game, isn't it?
It's always been in my head that Soul Blade is the better game, even though Soul Calibur is like better looking.
Yeah,
and better presented and better, everything. It turns out, because Soul Calibur is the better game.
Yes, it is. It's much, much better.
Yeah, it is. I love the way the stories work in Soul Blade.
Yeah.
I love the fact that it's one story per character as you work through the Soul. What's it called in that one? Edgemaster mode?
Yeah, Edgemaster mode, because then they brought in the character Edgemaster for Calibur.
Yeah, a bit of an eye-opener for me. I do love it. I love the characters. I love the little stories. Because I'm not a big fan, in case it hasn't been clear so far, that I'm not a big fan of stories in games. I always find them a bit pointless and distracting. They're just little short stories. They're just basically, here's a character, here's his adventures, and off you go, and it's really, really cool. And I mean, some are better than others, obviously, but I'm a big fan of Siegfried's story. I just think it's brilliant in its simplicity. I mean, he's basically a complete nut job.
Yeah.
And every time he wins and says, "I'll never rest till I reap vengeance for my father." You're a fucking Looney Tune, mate. I love it. It's brilliant. But yeah, I think that structure is still probably... There's Street Fighter Alpha 3 has got a really good single player mode. It's not deep enough to be an RPG, but you can just add little buffs and things to your characters, and it just makes them play slightly differently, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that's close, but I think Soul Blade's single player mode is fantastic.
Yeah. It's definitely a shining example of how to do something like that in a fighting game.
Yes.
I think I used to quite like Bushido Blade's single player story, the way they worked.
Yes, that was very cool, wasn't it? Yeah.
But no, Soul Blade, Edge, Calibur, all of them. Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely great.
My wrongness about thinking Soul Blade was better is born out of the fact that the single player mode that replaces Edgemaster mode, I think that, because that is the same, no matter what character you pick, it's always the same, isn't it?
Yes.
It never changes, and I think that's why it's not quite as good, and why I think at the time I was quite disappointed by it. Well, I say quite disappointed, slightly disappointed by it.
That's the one disappointment you've got for that entire game, then that's not a bad game.
Yeah, what a game. I mean, this is supposed to be about Soul Blade. Luckily, Soul Calibur fits into our remit as well, because it's just fucking brilliant, Soul Calibur.
Yeah. They're inseparable, aren't they, though? You can't talk about one... Well, you could talk about Soul Calibur and possibly once or twice mention Soul Blade, but you can't talk about Soul Blade without saying what it became.
Soul Calibur was definitely the popular one, wasn't it? I think Soul Blade...
Soul Blade was successful.
Yeah, I always got the impression that the series caught life with Soul Calibur, and Soul Blade was a bit of the outlier in it, because 95 in the arcades, wasn't it? It was very early for that sort of game.
Very late 96, like December 20th, 96, it came out in Japan.
I think the arcade version is slightly better than the PlayStation version, but only very, very slightly. And obviously it doesn't have that excellent single player mode, so any technical differences that there are pale into insignificance next to that excellent mode.
Oh, that's it. I mean, as competent a fighting game as it is, that sort of story-based sequence of fights that you do with the weird modifiers is the standout of that game, definitely.
There are two things that are the standout of that game. One is that, and the other one is A Tale of Soul and Swords, eternally retold. The greatest intro sequence in video game history, unbeaten to this day.
Ooh, bold claim.
Discuss.
Bold claim. It is amazing. I can remember watching that intro video for the first time, just being blown away. I'll never forget. And it's every time I rewatch it, because I played it recently, the bit where Siegfried's riding on the horse and the trebuchets are firing in the background, that to this day gives me chills. I want to see that. I want to see that battle.
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned on Tomb Raider that when the music kicks in, I get chills of bits of Tomb Raider. Every now and again, I just watch that intro just because I love it so much. And it's a weird thing, isn't it? Because the song, if you listen to the song on its own, which I tried, it's rubbish. It doesn't work. It's somebody whose first language clearly isn't English, even though their English is much, much better than my Japanese, singing quite a cheesy, sort of quite a weird like style, because it's kind of classical, kind of Eastern, and kind of a bit everything else as well. But I think what's brilliant about it is I don't know if the music was composed having seen that video, or that video was directed, if you like, around that song.
I would argue that the video is edited to the song, definitely.
It's immaculate.
They may have, yeah, exactly. It's too well, it matches it too well to not be.
But yeah, it is amazing. It is the song and the CGI.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful.
Pre-rendered, whatever it is. Incredible. Just incredible. On the tiny off chance that anyone listening to this hasn't seen it, heard it, just go and look at it. It's brilliant.
It's the bit where it flicks to Sungmina and there's sort of sakura blossoms floating down screen. She's just sort of flicking the sword around.
Yeah, the bit where Taki does a spell and it all fires off in the kanji through the floor. It looks incredible, and the music as it does that bit is incredible, and that's when it kicks into the big finale. But just incredible, a beautiful thing, and what a way to start a game, putting that on. The arcade, there were two versions, and the version 2 is basically almost Super Soul Blade. The one that we know, because that's obviously the one that became the PlayStation version, was smarter in lots of ways than the first one.
Yeah, changed a couple of things. They brought in Cervantes wasn't playable until that second version.
Right.
Guard impacts weren't available.
No way.
Yeah. If you can find that very, very early arcade version to play, I bet it's weird.
Yeah.
Because there'll be things in it you'll be expecting to see that just aren't there.
That would fuck me up. I do love the guard parry as well, because I think it's one of the evolutions from Soul Blade to Soul Calibur, where you because what's it called?
Guard impact.
Guard impact is forward and block, and then there's one that's back and block. And when it happens to you, it completely ruins you, because it just...
Oh, it's nothing worse.
Yeah, it's really off-putting, isn't it? It's just completely...
Yeah, you know what you're doing. You're in the middle of a combo of moves or whatever. All of a sudden, nope, you're not doing that anymore. You're not on your ass. You just sort of stumble forward, don't you?
Yeah.
But it's enough to really knock you.
Yeah, and then the tiny change to the camera angle, the whole thing, you go just that what? And then you're dead.
Actually, I should get this out of the way really early on. I fucking hate juggling in games.
Yes.
Always been a thing I hate, and it's a part of Soul Calibur,
it is,
Blade Edge.
But it's limited.
That I've come to accept. Yeah, it is there.
It's not Tekken, is it?
No, it's not.
I was listening to a podcast the other day, actually, not about Soul Blade or anything. Just he was around somebody's house playing a Tekken, a late version of Tekken, who was quite good at it, and he was trying to learn how to play Tekken off this bloke. And this geezer was like, see, there are launch moves, and you've got launch moves, then you keep them up in the air for as long as you can, and that's it. And the guy was like, "Oh, cool. So what's how do you get out of that?" And the guy was like, "Well, you just might as well just wait." Wait your turn. And I don't like that. I'm with you. I probably don't hate it as much as you. It's not a good mechanic, and I think Soul Blade has it, but it's normally a couple of hits, 2 or 3, maybe 4 and a long one. Not like 15 or 16 like these Tekken things have turned into. And I think Street Fighter went that way a bit as well. I think the later Soul Caliburs, 2 to 5. I'm choosing 2 to 5 as this week's Survivor Trilogy Tomb Raider style.
Well, I was going to dub them the Wilderness Phase because I've never played them. I think I might own Soul Calibur 2 on PlayStation 2 and I've never played it.
I've got 2 and 4 and they're just not very good. And we talked about this in Tomb Raider, and this will be going out after Crazy Taxi as well. We talked about it in Crazy Taxi as well. It's like the more that got added, the worse the game became.
Yeah.
And it became a point as well where the sort of the craft involved and the love wasn't there. You could really tell it was more sort of a farming out a mass-produced product. Yeah. Lots of people love the character create mode, and I get that. I love a good character create mode myself.
when it works.
But yeah, those games, and 5 was an abomination. They tried to do a soft reboot with 5, and it was rubbish.
Yeah.
But 6, which I bought and played for this, because doing my research, people started to say 6 is a bit of a return to form. 6 is more like Soul Calibur.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd give it a look. I picked it up for £8 on the PlayStation Store, and by golly, they're right.
Yeah.
It's really
it's
good.
Quite
game.
good.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
All the frippery that got added to these other games is taken away. It's a bit more back to basics, and it plays good. It looks lovely as well.
I got it on Steam about 3 years ago, I think.
Oh yeah.
Potentially. Would have got it cheap, otherwise I wouldn't have bought it. But I barely played it, and then I picked it up probably a few months ago.
Yeah.
Played it for a little, sort of several sessions. I thought, actually, this is really good.
Yeah.
Really enjoyable. Bit weird that Geralt's in it. Who have you got in your version?
There aren't other characters that they stopped all that, because that was shit as well, wasn't it? That was.
I remember at the time thinking that's really clever. Like, let's bring a character from another fighting game in.
Yeah.
That, you know, they already own the rights to Tekken, so why not bring a Tekken character in?
Yeah.
Yeah, fine. Then it's Zelda and Spawn for some reason. I still don't know why it was Spawn. But no, like Tekken, yeah, fair enough. You've got characters in there that fit into the system quite nicely because it's a similar kind of setup. And where it sort of takes place historically, you could just dick around and say someone travelled in time.
Soul Calibur had Yoshimitsu even before that, didn't it? And he started off as a Tekken character.
Yeah.
To me, because I don't play much Tekken, he feels like a Soul Calibur character. It's weird.
He plays like he's made for that game.
Yeah.
I can't remember how he plays in Tekken. Presumably very, very similar.
I don't even remember Tekken, but the controls of Tekken is you have left and right punch and left and right kick, fundamentally. So he's a bit more complex, obviously, because he punches with both hands and like that. But all his coolest moves are in Soul Calibur, and I prefer the Soul Calibur system, so I prefer him in Soul Calibur.
Yeah, that's fair.
Link. Let's get that right.
No, get it wrong. Keep calling him Zelda. People who love Zelda hate that.
So when you play as Zelda, that's the most popular one, and it outsold the other two by a significant amount. And I guess it's a character with a sword, isn't it? And I don't know what Spawn is, but he doesn't look like he's got a sword, and Heihachi definitely doesn't have a sword.
I think he's a demon. Got no love for the character, so I don't really remember.
It was designed by Todd McFarlane. He designed.
I know that. That's the only thing I know about him, because it's always Todd McFarlane's Spawn.
Yeah, you can't miss it, can you?
No.
But he designed one of the other characters as well.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's a Soul Calibur character or a Tekken character, but he basically designed, so there's a bit of a crossover there, and that might be why it is. But Heihachi was apocryphally. There are stories that say they wanted Dante from Devil May Cry, and they wanted another character as well that I forget right now, but they couldn't get them for licensing reasons. So basically, they just shipped in Heihachi last minute.
Yeah, it's just basically like getting the YTS kid. Making a film and some extra hasn't turned up, so cameraman, you go over there.
I don't like it. I think it's shit. And it got worse because I think Soul Calibur 4, it was Darth Vader or Yoda, depending on whether you bought the PS3 or the Xbox 360 version. And it's just all a bit desperate and weird. And I think that's where the series went. I think it got a bit, it tried to be as mainstream as possible, tried to do all that. And yeah, I didn't like them. I think I've played all of them to a certain extent. I bought a couple of them. I would have picked them up dirt cheap out of curiosity. But there is no doubt that for a 7-game series, it peaked at number 2. They kept on coming, but Soul Calibur is definitely where it's best.
13 games, actually, looking down the list,
so
including
there's
mobile versions and spin-offs.
Oh yeah, I don't think they're playable anymore. There's a PSP version, isn't there? And then there's one
Lost Swords.
Yeah.
And Unbreakable Soul, whatever that was.
We're talking about Soul Blade and Soul Calibur. I just wanted to get it off our chest that we're not. I don't think, other than 6, I don't think we're missing anything. I don't think there's nothing remarkable there.
I mean, we're missing the rich, deep, nuanced plot. Fucking hell. I started to read the plot synopsis for the overall series, and it sounded like a passage from the Bible. Honestly, it was just awful. And lo, this character did meet this character on the field of battle. And, oh, fuck, no, not reading this.
No. Nope.
It's one story at a time with whatever character you're in control of, and may or may not end up with a man in a gimp mask rubbing a sword against his face so hard it breaks.
Oh, Voldo, you are a weird man.
We have to talk about Voldo. We have to. Have you ever played a game before, looked at all the characters, thought, oh, man with a big axe, like it, man with a big staff, like it, oh, samurai, yeah, Teutonic Knight, giant sword, brilliant, like where this is going. Oh, Japanese demon hunter chick with sort of short swords or katanas or whatever they are. Yep, like where this is going. Wait a minute, Venetian gimp. I what? Run that by me one more time. Can you remember the first time you ever played it and you looked at Voldo?
I think I was more pissed off at it. He's an absolute dick of a character to fight against.
Shit to use.
Horrible
to fight against.
Yeah, he's shit to use, true. But when you come up, because he tends to be towards the end of the running order, doesn't he? So he's a little bit buffed and all that shit. But fucking hell, until you know, trying to predict what he's going to do, it's just like...
The thing is, it's also like weaving through your legs and all that sort of bollocks as well. And it's like, what are you? You just want to stamp on him and set fire to him. So weird, but a brilliant character. Really, really good idea.
Well, the mocap for the first game was done by one guy.
Okay, that's interesting.
So that he must have been pissed that day or something. Got an idea.
We haven't given Fukuyama's son his medication today. Let's film the gimp character.
He was very aware that obviously doing martial arts is a practical thing and it's not a very performative thing, so he exaggerated some bit. So he exaggerated, so it's sort of his free hand would move around more than it normally would and his head would bob around, and all that stuff is captured really well in the game and it makes it look fantastic.
If you just stand still as any of the characters, they're sort of idling animations, they're just standing there. I mean, Voldo particularly is just creepy as fuck. He just sort of waves his arms around at waist level. You're like, what the fuck's he gonna do? It's like a scorpion. You can't reason with it. No, fuck off. Get me fire. I need fire. I thought it was a stroke of genius. I've never seen a character in a game that's so out of sync with all the others. But because of that, he's a standout. He's very, very memorable. And
I'm just trying to think of others. And the first one that came to mind was Skullomania from Street Fighter EX.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's all, very Street Fighter-y characters. And there are some weird ones, like there's a guy who's a bit of a cowboy and stuff like that. But Skullomania is basically, what they call a salary man in Japan, but in a head-to-toe, like Halloween skeleton outfit.
Yeah, I remember it.
He's brilliant. And a bit out of place. But no, you're absolutely right. Voldo is just like, the fuck are you, mate? What? And what, did you make those weapons yourself? What the fuck are they?
Yeah, of course the gimp has to have fist weapons. What other choice is there?
They are fucking Nightmare Edward Scissorhands.
Well, Edward Scissorhands isn't nightmarish enough.
Yeah, it's Edward Scissorhands' nightmare about himself. He looks like Voldo.
Yeah.
Fuck me. Who's your favourite character in the first one?
I've given this a little bit of thought, and I think I'm going to have to go basic Mitsurugi.
Yeah?
Yeah, which is a little bit disappointing because he's sort of the generic hero character, isn't he? He's the Ryu.
Yes, no, and that's what he was intended to be.
Yeah.
As the series got popular, Siegfried and Ivy became the popular characters, but it was expected it was going to be Mitsurugi. That was like all along.
Yeah.
It's he's the samurai, he's a cool guy.
Well, that's it. I mean, when your core audience is Japanese, a Japanese character you would pick to be, that's your figurehead straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. And he might have the best ending.
It's a good ending.
The little sequence where you control it's in first person, isn't it? It's quite
yeah, you dodge the bullet, don't you, from the gun?
Yeah, it's pretty.
Or
cool,
don't.
like yes, or don't. In fact.
I can't remember that. I can remember playing through with every single character. And bits where you get to like an end and there's a different thing you can do or not.
Yeah.
Having to do both. Like Voldo's ending where he rubs the sword against his face until it breaks.
Just saying it out loud.
It's just weird. For anybody who's never played Soul Blade, just Google Soul Blade Voldo. It's a guy in a gimp suit who, what's his backstory? He protects the treasure trove of a Venetian trader or something. I think it is.
Pretty much it. Yeah, and he's kind of.
But this guy's dead and long since dead.
Yeah.
So he just sort of lurks around.
Yeah.
Guarding all this treasure.
Blind, as best I can tell, as well.
I think so.
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah. Not weirdly, he's kind of like Gollum. He's not corrupted. He's not overly corrupted by the sword. He treasures the sword. Yeah. It's his precious thing, but he doesn't do anything with it. He just wants it to have it in the treasure trove.
Yeah, that's true, actually, yeah. Maybe Gollum was the inspiration for the story, at least.
I don't know.
Absolutely 100% in the first game, Siegfried is my favourite character. Which is quite unusual for me, because I normally like fast characters.
I was going to say, also as well, you normally like female characters.
I do, yeah, and for a long time I did play a lot as Taki.
You played a lot as Sophitia, I seem to remember.
Yeah. Yeah, I did play a lot of those. But even as female characters, she's not there at the beginning, but I think Sung Mina is the best female character in the game.
So isn't she effectively female Killick? That's a long polearm kind of weapon, similar moves.
Yeah, Killick isn't in Soul Blade, is he?
No, he doesn't come along until Soul Calibur.
And that
he's the replace. Oh, so yes, it's
no, they're both in it. I think they're brother and sister.
Oh, okay. She's got a great move with the sort of long star thing where she like spreads your legs apart and then whacks you in the nuts.
Yeah.
Always like
genius. She's got, I think, the thing I like particularly about her and Siegfried is they've got great ring out moves. Because in Soul Blade, ring outs are really important because the levels are quite small, aren't they? And you move, you get pushed and pulled around them a lot. And when you're doing the Soul Edge mode,
Edge Master,
that's the puppy.
Well, it's a condition, isn't it? You can only win by doing
you win by ring out. Some of them, there's strong winds and you're up against the edge a lot and all that sort of thing. And they've both got moves where they basically lift you over their heads and dump you out of the ring.
Yeah, the throw.
Yeah, well, it's not really a throw. It's a modified move. Like it's a stab move that Siegfried does, and he just stabs you, and then second part of it picks you and that ridiculous sword up,
hoists you over his
shoulder, and dumps you out of the ring. Just absolute genius, love it. And he's got the most ridiculous drop kick you've ever seen in your life. You hit that drop kick as a reversal, and you punt people, however big the stage is, they're going to the fucking end of it. It's absolutely insane.
Love it.
And brilliant. Who doesn't love a good drop kick?
Yeah.
So the feature I like, she's got some very cool moves to feature because she's got the shield and she uses it.
You missed out a favourite weapon, a knee.
Her knee. I'm sorry.
Square in the nuts.
So unless you're not possessed of nuts, in which case you do not get apologised to.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, does she apologise to Voldo?
I should hope not. That's like Sin City. That's taken away one of his weapons.
Yeah. I was going to say, with the because I think the guard impact, Sophia's guard impact is with the shield, and there's just little touches like that. That's very cool.
Well, it makes sense, doesn't it? If you're in a sort of a weapon-based combat game, and you've got a character with a sword and a shield, you want parrying.
Yeah.
You want, something with that other weapon.
It's very, very cool. That is kind of what was special about Soul Blade, is that there were games, like fighting games with swords before.
One.
Samurai Showdown?
No, well, Samurai Showdown was 2D, but Toshinden, Battle Arena Toshinden was the only previous 3D weapon-based.
Oh, okay. None of them felt like you were... there was there's another one that's on the Dreamcast. I want to say... Star Gladiator.
Is that the one with Danzavar?
No.
What was that?
That is the fantastic...
It's like a B-movie, is it?
Evil Zone. Evil Zone. That's another great single-player mode, actually.
Yeah.
Because each character has their own... And it plays out like a TV series. That's where Danzivar comes in. With a little
episodes.
Yeah, a little sting comes in before each episode. Very, very cool game. Very... very sort of, they call it slept on these days, but a hidden gem, we would call it. A cracking game. But no, I think Star Gladiator was just a robot fighting. But none of these games felt like you were fighting with weapons.
Yes.
Yeah. They felt like another beat 'em up, but you had a weapon. Mm-hmm. They were designed weapon first, so here's a weapon. What got it, and then you build a character around that weapon. So it was almost very much about, this is a fighting game with swords. This is what it's about. And it's going to feel like it. And which is why I was quite so surprised that the guard impact wasn't there, because that's one of the main things where it really feels like it was one of these games that's made by sort of a B team whilst another team's working on something important, a B team, and that's how Soulblade came about.
Yeah.
Talking of Mitsurugi, did you know about Arthur?
Arthur? Nope. I like where this is going. Tell me about Arthur.
Arthur. There are nations in the world, I believe Korea is one of them, where you're not allowed, or you weren't allowed at that point, to depict samurai.
Oh, okay.
And so in those regions, in that version 1, there was Arthur, who was an English knight. Who was exactly the same as Mitsurugi, except he was blonde and had an eye patch. Didn't change anything else. It's literally like, you'll never know this is a samurai if we make him blonde and give him an eye patch. Call him Arthur.
Yeah. He's a pirate. He's English.
Yeah, absolutely. He's from Southampton. It'll be fine.
No, it wouldn't be Southampton. They'd pick a completely non-piratey town.
No, it was Southampton.
He's from Hinckley.
But yeah, that was a thing. That was
I love it.
A thing that happened.
Yeah, because Wang wasn't in it originally. He was a reskin of Mitsurugi, so that's probably where that comes in then. Yeah, originally a palette swap of Mitsurugi for the Korean version.
Yeah, when you get to Soul Calibur, Wang is one of my favourite characters.
That's great. How can you not love a character with a 9-foot invisible sword?
But that's Soulblade.
Yeah, I know.
But I mean, you do. How can you not love that? It's absolutely genius.
Thing is, I don't and can't separate the two a lot of the time.
No,
because I'll be playing a character and I think, oh yeah, this is the guy with the 9-foot invisible sword. Where's that? How do I get that? Oh wait, different game.
I mean, one of my favourite things that Soul Calibur brought in is it does things with just holding buttons and doing extra little things in like the animation phase. So Siegfried, who is an unlockable character in Soul Calibur,
it's Nightmare originally, isn't it?
Yeah, canonically Nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he has loads of moves where if you like hold the button down, so if you do a big upward swing that finishes with the sword behind his back and hold the button down, he stops and just holds the sword over his shoulder. And he just pauses in that thing, and then it opens up a slightly different moveset.
Well, it transitions into stances, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So it's like a low crouching stance with the sword behind him. Yeah.
Look at you with your bloody technical terminology. Yes, that's what I was trying to talk about. And I love those. I think they're fantastic.
Yeah.
And Huang has a couple of moves where he does a little flourish with his sword afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it looks cool enough as it is. Like, there's one particularly cool one.
The game drips cool.
Oh, yeah. Well, absolutely.
Constantly.
So he sort of double steps in and does a big lungy stab. And then
and then sort of a pirouette with it as well.
Yeah, and if the opposing character attacks while he's doing a little pirouette, it's a guard impact. And it's just genius. It's just little stuff like that. The game is full of it. And in, say, Calibur as well, Cervantes, one of his swords has got a pistol built into it.
Yes.
And there's exactly one move. If I remember right, there is only one move where he actually uses it. And it's just a little slash where he goes slash and then shoots. It's just brilliant. It happens so quickly.
I could be wrong, but I think one of his throws might use it.
Oh, that would make sense, wouldn't it?
It's been a long time since I've played it to any proper level.
Well, I don't really play as Cervantes. So.
Well, I used to. I played everybody. I've played every... This is one of the very, very few fighting games where I've played every mode, every character, got every ending repeatedly over and over and over again.
I'm with you. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a stroke of genius as well with Soul Calibur, like hiding some of the best characters behind an unlock. For a home console release. I think that's great. And actually you have to, unlock Huang, you have to unlock Siegfried. These are some of the best characters in the game. I think that's great.
Don't you have to unlock Sophitia? Isn't she Lizard Man?
No, you unlock Lizard Man, you don't unlock Sophitia.
Okay.
Lizard Man's always been Sophitia reskin.
Yeah.
Sophitia looks fantastic in the second game.
Yep.
I mean, mind you, they all look fucking fantastic.
Well, that's one of the things I was going to come to. Is Soul Calibur was the first Dreamcast game I ever played.
Yeah.
I borrowed a Japanese console and Soul Calibur off a friend who worked... I think he worked at Sony. So he was like, it was quite easy for them to get in touch with people in Japan and say, oh yeah, can you buy me, the new Dreamcast and ship it over and I'll pay you whatever. And I played nothing else for like that 48 hours. I played probably 36 hours. Fucking Soul Calibur. I couldn't believe the jump from PS1 to Dreamcast. You could read emotion on a character's face. The models were so refined. I mean, look back at it now and it looks kind of not crap, but nowhere as near as good as modern game characters. But that difference was, I mean, you could see a character blink.
Yeah.
And you could see when a character was angry. I was like, wow, this is such a jump. It's so amazing. But just the way that the characters ran out, especially Ivy, because she was the standout for me. When I first put it on, I thought, well, yeah, I've played Soul Blade a lot, knew every character, knew all the stories, knew all the, the history, blah, 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 blah. So I thought, I'm just going to play as whoever's new.
Yeah.
Who's new? Who can play as? Ooh, English chick with a chain sword.
Yeah.
No, not sure if that's possible in real life. I'd love to see one. But I was just playing with her. She moves just perfectly.
Yeah.
Like she moves like a person. She doesn't move like an animated game character.
No, yeah.
It's flawless. The transition from like pressing a button to doing a move. It's not like literally she just jumps in the air. She like crouches and like actually jumps off of the ground. It's incredible. It took me ages and ages to stop seeing all of that and just start playing the game.
You just mentioned something really interesting, actually. We're not going to talk about 2 to 5 too much, but they got slower. So they just felt slow. And I'm not sure slow is the right word, but they certainly, as you say, as much as you're right, you do a jump and there's an animation, there's a physicality to the jump. On Soul Calibur, that jump still happens instantly. Like it's almost like it happens before you finish pressing the fucking controls. Everything about Soul Calibur is fast and instant and you feel fully in control all the time. I think perhaps the advance of frame rates and sort of more detailed animation or something doesn't feel like that the other games, and 6 did, and I think perhaps that's quite why I liked 6 quite so much as well, other than it looks more like Soul Calibur than any of the others have done as well. But yeah, there's a very instant feel to the way Soul Blade and Soul Calibur play that went away for those games. And I think it could be, as I say, more animation frames maybe or something like that. I don't know. I'm not an expert in these things.
Possibly.
But they just don't feel as instant. The way, I mean, Ivy's one of them. She's got a move where her blade just stabs out really quick. And it's instant. It's like you go bang, bang, and it's just fucks somebody up right in the middle of a combo. It's just great. I loved Ivy as well. Played a lot of Ivy.
Great looking character. And the moves are ridiculous as well.
Yeah.
It's like fires the sword into the ground and it comes out behind the opponent. Love that.
But she's got, again, this whole stance change thing. She's got some moves she does and then she stops and she's swinging the sword around as you do the stance.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very cool thing. I love it. I think it's a brilliant, brilliant game. I'm with you. When I saw it in a shop in Bedford, I don't know which one, and I've been racking my brain because in my brain, regular listeners will know that's not a reliable resource. It was on that road that runs between the top of Midland Road and the bus station down there, that road.
Yeah.
And I've in my brain, this shop where I saw Soul Calibur for the first time was down that road, and there wasn't a game shop down that road. So I don't know. Again, maybe it was very short lived. Maybe it didn't exist at all. Maybe I had a dream. Who fucking knows?
I was going to say, I don't think you've remembered that right.
But all I remember is I saw Soul Calibur running. I was at the back of the shop on what would have at the time been a big widescreen TV, probably smaller than what I'm looking at talking to you now. But
that might have been a widescreen TV. It's doubtful.
But just seeing it and just being like, I'm getting a Dreamcast. Again, we talked about Tomb Raider and the PlayStation, Soul Calibur and the Dreamcast. My God, what a game. And the way that game looked now, I don't know what games people look at these days that take their breath away, because there seems to be this push towards realism that I think is the enemy of creativity. But whatever the last game you saw that really stunned you with the way it looked, that's what Soul Calibur was like. And you may not believe it looking at it now if you're young and you weren't there at the time. But by God, it was like different class. Better than Arcade Perfect as well, which was never happened before for anything ever.
Well, the thing is as well, because it was certainly the first Dreamcast game I'd seen, I wasn't quite prepared for the leap from PlayStation to Dreamcast, because previously you'd had sort of, I mean, we've said before about the jump to 3D between the 16-bit and the 32-bit.
Yeah.
From SNES to the PlayStation was a big thing, but that 3D didn't look particularly good on the eye.
No. Oh no, early 3D was pretty grim.
Well, horrible to look at. But the thing is as well, because we'd basically had Soul Blade, or Soul Edge, if you're Japanese. So this was a game you already knew. You know, you'd played it, you'd gone through it, every single character, you knew what everybody looked like, what they do, what their weapons are. And then there's this version where they're all of a sudden they look like almost real people. Obviously, like you said, they don't now, but at the time, it's such a jump.
And again, I think this is this whole thing where not aiming for realism, just aiming for really great looking characters is in the thing's benefit. Because if you'd gone for realism, that would look horrible now. But it still looks great. It doesn't look real. It doesn't, I don't know whether it's a Sega policy or some sort of mission statement, but it's so bright and colourful, and it's so Sega and so Dreamcast in its style. And that all went away with the later games as well.
Well, it's, again, with Sega specifically, it's the idea was the arcade in your house.
Yeah.
So Soul Calibur being very much an arcade game, perfect fit for the console.
Yeah.
You know, that fit their mission statement perfectly.
Yeah. I'd say I genuinely think it's still a stunning looking game, and it is because it is so beautifully crafted. You know, as much as motion capture was a thing, now it's a thing for the game before. It wasn't. Everything's got to be realistic, everything's got to be absolutely perfect, and there's no exaggeration or anything like that. It was motion capture plus here's some extra little flourish shit as well. Just awesome.
Yeah.
You mentioned Soul Edge being the Japanese name. I have both. I got both the Soul Edge and Soul Blade.
Oh, okay. Why?
Because I love it. I quite often buy the Japanese version of games that I just love because,
fair enough.
You know, the frame rate, as much as you don't really care at the time, it's a 60 rather than a 50. I think it's actually a 30 rather than a 25 frame rate. And I just, I love it that much. And there's other than that, there's no real differences. There's a couple of censorship issues. So in the miraculous best ever intro sequence, there's a shot of Sophitia from the back.
Oh, yeah.
And she's naked in the Japanese one. She's wearing a swimsuit in the American and the European one.
Don't actually see anything, though, do you?
No, it's from the back. It's literally her back.
So you don't see her breasts.
No.
You just see her back.
Yeah.
And they censored it.
Yeah. Nuts. Don't know what that's about.
No, they cut them out as well.
There's one that I didn't know about that I only found out in the research for this. There's right at the end where Cervantes ripped his face off. His hand in the original version is like burnt and disfigured. Okay. And for some reason they changed. This guy is ripping his face off and you've got an issue with him having a burnt hand? What the fuck? Of course, the other, the third and most famous bit of censorship is old Li Long.
Oh, I'm glad we got to this.
And Li Long and his... No, they are not nunchucks. That is a three-sectional staff, my friend.
Yep. Yeah. I did a lot of reading on this.
Did you?
Because I can remember it happening. I can remember it coming out, and there'd been a bit of a thing in whatever magazine it was that reviewed it, saying for the European version, Li Long's nunchucks have been changed to this particularly weird 3-section staff.
Yeah,
it's a nunchuck with a solid section in the middle rather than a chain.
Yeah. And given that this is PlayStation era, that piece of chain was straight all the time anyway.
Yeah, indistinguishable.
Yes. Yeah.
But we were still, particularly in England, not sure about the rest of Europe. They probably didn't give a shit.
No.
But we were still in a situation where the BBFC would not allow the depiction of nunchucks in anything.
Yeah.
Because they were seen as something you can make, a horrifically offensive weapon that you can make at home with 2 bits of stick and a chain. I'd love to take the people from that era and show them the internet now.
Yeah, right.
Here's how to make a nuclear bomb. On Wikipedia.
God bless them.
But no, we're still in the sort of era where you couldn't depict nunchucks in games, in TV shows. Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, because that had to be renamed because you couldn't call them ninjas.
Yeah.
Had to change their nunchucks into something. I can't remember what it was. Any game that came out, it had to be changed. Any film that came out, it just got cut out straight away.
Yeah.
That finally got repealed in 1999.
Was it that recent?
Just in time for Soul Calibur to come out. I think I couldn't find a definitive answer on this, I think Soul Calibur on the Dreamcast was the first game to feature nunchucks in the UK.
Oh.
If you go on the BBFC website, there's a brilliant timeline of like important dates in history of the BBFC.
Oh, yeah.
So like what they found particularly offensive about a certain film, or certain legislation got changed.
Yeah.
That changed the way certain things. Like films that sat for 30 years unreleased because of depictions of things that today you would laugh at. Like films that on their release got banned, that are now PG because the central theme of it is something like revolution or like workers' rights. Workers' rights used to be something you got censored. It's incredible. But yeah, I looked up the whole nunchuck thing because I was playing Soul Calibur and thought, wait a minute, they're nunchucks.
Yeah, well, it's not him either, is it? Because poor old Li Long got numbered with the 3 sectional staff and was then never seen again. And they get this, the crazy showboat that is Maxi.
What do you mean showboat? It's not like he looks like Elvis or anything. Spoilers, he looks like Elvis.
I hate that prick.
Now, there's a question. Who's your most hated character to play and to play against?
I don't particularly like playing as Cervantes.
Okay.
I don't know why. I think he's, again, as a character as well, he's quite, you were talking before, and it's true, all the characters have got like a fluidity to them, and and Cervantes doesn't have that. He's quite a static character. I'm not a big fan of that. I don't mind fighting against him. I don't, and I like his character design. I think his little pistol sword thing is very cool. Got nothing against him. I think, I don't know. I don't think I particularly hate any of them. I'm just trying to think through. I think as a character design, like visually, I think Taki's quite dull.
Yeah.
But her moves are quite cool, and she screams all the time. It's hilarious.
She's got that great somersault move and then the sort of stab you in the kidneys.
Yeah. I mean, for a ninja, she's very, very noisy. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I mentioned when we chose this game that I think there was a crossover in quality between the Dead or Alive series and the Soul Calibur Blade series.
Right.
I think Dead or Alive was getting better as Soul Calibur was getting worse. And I also think that Soul Calibur was getting more sexualized. I wouldn't say Dead or Alive was getting less so, but it certainly wasn't getting any worse.
So it's before or after the beach volleyball spin-off game?
Oh, they don't count. I mean, my thing with Dead or Alive is, and I love Dead or Alive, I love the original game a lot, I played it a lot, even though it's, ostensibly broken as far as, serious beat-em-up fans are concerned. I always thought it was funny.
Well, yeah, it's a joke.
Yeah, I thought it, unless I'm wrong, I always thought, and it's absolutely fucking hilarious, it's just ridiculous. And yes, it's not a particularly clever joke, and yes, it's massively sexist. But at the same time, this is the same game that has these women with ridiculous proportions and future back problems that nobody in the world would ever want. Also has a character that fights in full scuba gear. It's like, tank and all, flip flops and all, the whole works.
Yeah. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah. I'd say I've always thought it was supposed to be funny, and I think as Dead or Alive, it's got ick now. But I think Soul Calibur, the ones that we're not supposed to be talking about, were almost as ick and not as tongue-in-cheek about it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of been there from the start.
Yes. I mean,
the boob physics, wobbly boob physics was a part of the earliest.
Yes, Taki did have a bit of jiggle.
Yeah.
God bless her. But I just think it didn't feel as ick in that. It wasn't as...
It's not as in your face.
Just going to let that go. Just going to leave that hanging there. I think in the original Soul Blade, my least favourite character was Li Long, because just so fast, and you place a real human with him. Button mashing was a thing.
That's got to be the thing, isn't it? It's the character with the most button mashing, which is Li Long / Maxi.
Yeah, I mean, Maxi, annoyingly, you can do some of the most beautiful moves in the game just by hammering at the buttons and not knowing what the fuck's going on.
Well, that's it. If you look at the combinations of what he does in separation from the fight, like if you watch it as a replay and just the character moves and animation, brilliantly put together.
Yeah.
And the way they link together is fantastic.
And his stance things are very cool, because he does that stance hold where he's doing the stereotypical changing hands with his nunchuck, and it looks great.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so many of those moves, like you say, that are multiple hit. Like he's got one where he spins it round on the end of his foot, for fuck's sake. Come on. I've never been a big fan of Astaroth.
No?
No, I don't.
What about Rock, which would be the early version?
Bangle! No, I like Rock, but I think I just like Rock. He's quite a cool character, isn't he? It's just...
He's a weird character because he's basically his Native American version of Tarzan, effectively, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's like an English baby who gets shipwrecked and winds up on the shores of the States in like the 14th century.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I think there's another America in it, is there?
I don't think so.
That's got to be quite unusual.
Other than T-Hawk in Super Street Fighter 2 or Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
No, but I mean...
You'd be hard-pressed to find
even Caucasian Americans or any American other than Native American, because T-Hawk, yeah, absolutely great Native American. That's what I mean. But I mean, most games have an American character because that's a big market and you want an American character.
Well, you have the stereotypical American character, don't you? You have an army guy like Guile.
Yeah, you have a guy. Yeah.
It's just, what other reason can you have for putting an American in any other country in the world? I was in the military. That's it. Straight away. You're in the American military, you have rights to go anywhere in the world. The thing is, though, the majority of Soul, Blade, Edge, Chronicles, Calibur, whatever, takes place in like the 15th century.
Yeah, it is.
It's got a kind of specific time period to it, hasn't it? So you can't have a modern day American character.
No, I guess that's true. But I liked in Soul Calibur 6, there's a sort of a timeline and you play the individual story modes in a timeline so you can see where they fit into the whole idea, as much as, who gives a shit about the whole idea. But I kind of liked that presentation of it. I thought that was pretty cool.
I like that. That really caught my eye when I was playing the single player bit of it. Like the idea that you can see where people's stories overlap.
Yeah.
Where somebody's 400 years older than everybody else.
Yeah.
Or has been around a lot longer. I like the people who have like one chapter is like 1412 and the next one's like 1492. Like, what were you doing for 80 years?
I mean, is it Yoshimitsu starts like 400 years before everybody else? Is one of the characters, their timeline.
He's a demon, isn't he, or something?
Yeah. Good stuff.
Did Calibur have anything on the VMU? Can you remember?
Oh, it had some nice little animations, but nothing. There was no games.
Didn't have I thought it had a little standalone game.
So I'm just going on about what I've seen, and I've noticed that there is a little, obviously highly pixelated version of your character you've chosen on the screen while you're playing. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, apparently there was. There were 3 mini games you could get. Completing all 3 gave you a new costume for Voldo.
Wow.
Probably why I never bothered. It was the suit he wears to his day job as a primary school teacher.
Was that present in the European version?
Don't know, I'm just looking now. Possibly not, because all the screenshots are in Japanese.
Lots of them got cut.
Yeah.
We really got the shitty end of the stick with the Dreamcast on that.
I mean, to be fair, the batteries only lasted 15 minutes.
You had them last as long as that?
Yeah.
With the Dreamcast, we got the shitty end of the stick with the VMU games because a lot of them got dropped, and the shitty end of the stick with the lots of online modes got dropped as well, didn't they? Because our networks weren't up to it at the time.
Yeah, it was just a bit too early, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, our networks couldn't handle Choo Choo Rocket, for fuck's sake. Imagine trying to do Soul Calibur. Absolutely. You got no hope.
Soul Calibur on dial-up.
Turns it into a turn-based game.
Yeah, played by email.
We'll get Gollop onto it. It'll be a masterpiece.
Oh, can you imagine?
Oh,
that'd be great.
Yeah, fantastic stuff.
There was a planned film for Soul Calibur. Yep, it obviously never came about.
No, obviously.
But somebody had the rights and was working on developing a Soul Calibur film at one point.
Although we say it never happened, but the soul still burns. The franchise is still alive. It might yet happen.
A story told over time, eternally retold.
Ah, mate, you fucked that up.
I don't care. I'll edit it so I'll get it right. I'll tell you what, one thing we didn't mention, actually, and it's something that I'd forgotten that was a part of the game, your weapon breaks.
Yes.
Your weapon can break and you're left fucking defenseless against a nutter with a 9-foot fucking double-handed sword.
You're not defenseless.
Yeah, you are. You can't block.
Well, I guess you are defenseless, but rewind. You're right. You are completely. Your only defense is attack.
Or run away.
But there is. It does break give that incredible experience of winning, having after having a weapon broken is massively satisfying. It's so fucking cool. It doesn't happen very often. But
is there ever a condition in the Edge Master mode where you're unarmed?
I don't think so.
No, I can't remember it. That would be a very good one to do.
But I don't think so.
You can do a lot of like running kick moves still, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And
I use anyway. I use that as part of my tactics most of the time.
Yeah, no, it's not. You're not completely useless. And ring outs become a big thing because they still got that big flying kick that everybody does.
Yeah.
You still have that at your disposal, which is a great ring out move. But yeah, we talked about favorite characters. We didn't talk about favorite version of weapons.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and least favorite. There's the reason I remember this is because of what you just said. Sophitia has got a weapon that's called the Crystal Rod. Imagine how useful and utterly shit that is.
Does it break really easily?
It breaks really easily. It's got no damage at all. I think it might regenerate your health or something, but it's like,
oh, okay.
You have to be like shit hot at both guard impacting and mashing people to death with 1,000 hits
or running away
or ring outs as well, I guess.
Get one hit and then run away and time out.
So I mean, when it comes to, you say, running away, when you're trying to time people out, there's no 8-way run in Soul Blade, is there? 8-way run was
wasn't a thing at the time.
No, huge innovation for Soul Calibur 4. Why did I say 4? For Soul Calibur, and it sort of again revolutionised the way you play the game. Just to be able to walk around in circles around an opponent, just because games of the Tekkens of the time and the 3D Street Fighters. I think the 3D Street Fighters had it actually, but you double tap. And Soul Blade was the same thing, to step in and out of the screen. It's like a dodge thing. But
it made the most of it as well, didn't it? You had different throw moves from the left and the right and behind.
Yeah, and just different moves as well.
It had a tactical reason for it.
Yeah, with the 8-way run in particular, it was, there were different moves that came off from an 8-way run position, and even the difference between the sidestep and the 8-way run was a thing, because there were moves that came from a sidestep and there were moves that came from the 8-way run, and there were throws, all that cool stuff. It was such a huge new thing. It's really very, very cool.
I think as well, it made more of an impact, and it was certainly more of a thing because you're using a weapon.
Yeah.
Like 8-way run, when it's just fists, kind of, not, I wouldn't say pointless, but not as important.
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, you couldn't be more. And when you think about characters like Siegfried and Sung Min-Oh have got these long weapons.
Long stabbing motions straight forward.
Yes,
yeah.
But also because the moveset is basically sideways strike or up and down strike. If someone's coming at you with an 8-way run and you're at Siegfried, you start doing the sideways version. You start swinging because it's a defense against that, and the longer the weapon is in that example, the better. But as you say, the same character's disadvantaged because the other half of their moveset becomes completely useless because it's so straightforward, so back to forth. It's just genius design. Such a great thing.
There's one other feature that we didn't mention at all, which is the bizarre rock, paper, scissors clash thing.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
But that's only in Soul Blade, isn't it?
Was it? Did it come out?
I think they give it up for the rest of them.
Oh, okay. I thought it was in Calibur.
I think you just get like a clash of blades.
I think, I'm 99% sure it's in Soul Calibur 6.
Ooh.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, well, there's a special kind of move in Soul Calibur 6 that makes it happen.
Oh, okay.
So there's I can't remember what it's called, but it's and it's really basic as well. It's like one button, but it sort of triggers that event. So you can be blocking, and then you press this button, and it will trigger a rock paper scissors event. But I don't think it was in Calibur. I think it was in Blade.
Oh, okay. I definitely remember it.
Yeah.
Not sure where I remember it from, but.
But I think that's the thing with Soul Calibur 6. It was called Project Luster in development, Soul Calibur 6, because they wanted to get back to the Soul Calibur feeling of the game.
That's interesting.
Their whole thing was to go away from this gloomy thing that Soul Calibur had become, and very serious, and get back to the brightness and the fun and the exuberance of Soul Calibur. And so, it was called Project Luster in development, which is genuinely one of the things that made me go, this is probably worth £8 of my money.
Can you remember anything specific about the music of Soul Blade Calibur Edge?
It's one of the things I think is better in Blade than Calibur. It's just because it's a bit noisier. It's a bit, I guess that's, it's a bit more simplistic, and it's a bit more energetic, I think. I think in Soul Calibur they do the thing that so many games do, where they try and get serious about the music, and it's quite orchestral and it's quite, well made.
Yeah.
In Soul Blade it's just a bit bombastic. There's a bit more of a, and that's Soul Blade all over. Soul Blade has got rounds that can be over in 3 seconds. You know what I mean? I
was going to say it's probably because it's more of an arcade game.
Yeah.
Than a home console game. I mean, whereas Soul Calibur obviously did come out in the arcade, it was very much designed from the ground up with home market in mind as well.
As I briefly mentioned before, Soul Calibur was the first game that I know of that was better than arcade perfect, and not just because it had extra modes and things. Because you could argue Time Crisis had more modes on the PlayStation and all that stuff, but in terms of the presentation, Soul Calibur was better on the Dreamcast than it was in the arcade.
I'm pretty sure I never turned it off, but I can't remember the in-game music.
No?
Like Street Fighter 2, I can remember, without even thinking about it, the stage music for a lot of those fights, because it's all specific to the arena, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
And they're very distinctive. And I wonder if I've put as much time into Soul Calibur as Street Fighter 2. I probably haven't.
No.
The music was very memorable from Street Fighter 2, whereas Soul Calibur, it doesn't seem to be in my mind.
It's a really good point. I've spent most of my time playing Soul Calibur rather than Soul Blade, but I did play Soul Blade a bit. I'm talking about over the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I have got 3 tunes from Soul Blade in my head right now that I'm not going to try and represent because you've banned me from singing. But I have none from Soul Calibur, and I've played much more Soul Calibur than I did Soul Blade. And there are tunes I'm desperately trying to hum them now. I'm not going to do it. But that's what I mean. I think they are more impactful. They stick with you more. From Soul Blade, there's definitely more about them. The music that I'm thinking of from Soul Blade, when you think they've all got quite big intros, they come in. So the stage starts and it goes, Siegfried versus Cervantes. Always says it twice. What the fuck is that about?
Does it?
Yeah, always says it twice. It's like every single time it goes, as I say, Siegfried versus Taki, and then that's off from the image screen. Then when the fight starts, it goes versus Taki again every single time.
Okay, might just be like a disc reading thing.
Could be. I'm playing it on the original hardware, and I'm playing it on the original hardware on the PS2, which kind of does actually do things like that sometimes. So you might be right.
Like I said before, emulation, it's always sound that goes wrong.
Even with the original hardware. It's funny you mentioned Evil Zone before. We were chatting about Evil Zone. Evil Zone, the thing using it were Danzivar, the hero of the little intro things that they did.
Yeah.
The PlayStation 2 loaded faster, it cut off the end of loads of them. Like most of them never got to the end because it was obviously programmed to last as long as it took it to read the disc.
Yeah.
PlayStation 2 ran faster, so that might be what's happening with my Soul Blade. It might be something similar.
Could be.
Yeah, interesting shout. But yeah, but I think, to be fair, as much as you're right, I never turned off the music on Soul Calibur and Soul Blade. I thought it was really good, but it's all about the sound, isn't it? The clash of blades, to quote Iron Maiden. What was that song?
The Duelists.
The Duelists. You die as you lived in the clash of the blades.
Yeah.
Great tune, that one.
A or B?
Oh, that's harsh.
No, that's fine.
But A or B?
A or B. Okay. Well, I'll make it easier. 1 or 2.
Hey Google, flip a coin.
It landed on heads.
A.
So next time out, we're doing Doom.
Doom
on anything, because you can literally play it on anything. My format of choice is going to be a 1974 Texas Instruments calculator.
Do you know what I played Doom on?
SNES.
The SNES.
Yeah. Anything else ever?
End of list. I briefly played it on like a PC version of it on my Casio 3-inch pocket TV that I gutted the insides of and built a Raspberry Pi into the inside.
Oh, nice.
Instead.
Excellent.
Anyway, Doom.
Yes, we are going to do Doom next.
Wow.
The highly, highly influential first-person shooter from id.
I don't think it'd be saying too much for saying it's the most influential video game ever made.
It's quite possible that is true.
Up there with Street Fighter, I reckon, or Street Fighter 2.
It's up there with Space Invaders, mate.
That's fair.
It's a very, very important game.
But the legacy of Space Invaders and how Space Invaders plays has not lasted as long as the legacy of Doom and the way Doom plays.
Yeah. The thing is, I genuinely believe that Doom is the reason why you still play games on PCs now. I think without it, the PC as a platform might not be what we think it is now.
Well, I think it's shit now, so you're saying it's Doom's fault. I liked it for somebody who doesn't like PC games very much. I like Doom. I remember it when it came out and playing it on somebody else's PC. I can't remember who. No, Doom's a great show. I mean, it's when it comes to retro games. I mean, we did Street Fighter 2 as the very first episode, and I think it's probably the only game that can claim to be as potentially influential as Doom.
I wanted to pick a PC game.
Yes.
I've wanted to do a PC game for a little while, and other than Half-Life, I couldn't really think of anything sort of big, and I thought, well, Doom's got to be it.
Yeah.
When it came out, you could only get it on the PC, so everybody knew about it. Nobody got to play it for quite a while.
I am looking forward to you educating me.
Okay.
Because I don't play PCs a lot. I don't know all this stuff you're talking about lineage.
You got to remember, a lot of what we will talk about with Doom is 30 years old.
Yeah. So
in terms of how it worked, how the mod scene worked, I mean, it's almost pre-internet.
Yeah.
It's certainly before widespread use of the internet. Oh no, I'm looking forward to this. I genuinely am.
Talk to me about your alcoholic beverage that you've chosen to go with today's topic.
My drink for Soul Blade, very specifically Soul Blade.
Not Edge.
Blade Edge, but not Calibur.
Okay.
Is the Uncut Gem.
Ooh. I didn't see this on my searching.
I very much think of Soul Blade as the uncut raw game that was polished and became Soul Calibur, which is one of the best games ever made. Soul Blade's there, it's got the sort of bare bones of it, but it's not quite as good.
Like that.
So I'm going to give, Soul Blade gets the Uncut Gem cocktail.
Love it.
Looks really, really good. Look, it's blood red. It'll make a great Halloween cocktail. It's 50 ml of monkey shoulder, so whiskey.
Yeah.
20 ml of Gifford creme de framboise, whatever that is. 25 ml of pomegranate juice, which I guess is where the colour comes from. And then a couple of drops of saline solution.
Okay.
Garnished with a skewered raspberry. So it's, the framboise is very red.
Tell me what's it. Google Giffords or Diffords, if you're on Diffords, will tell you what's in the creme de whatever the
It's
hell
a
it was
raspberry liqueur.
Oh, okay.
So it's effectively whiskey, raspberry, and pomegranate.
That sounds all right, doesn't it?
Which it sounds quite interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be tempted by that, actually.
It's not a bad whiskey monkey shoulder, but yeah, that sounds all right.
It's quite new. Adapted from a recipe created in 2023 by Jodie Buchan, Monkey Shoulder brand ambassador, UK North. How do you get that job?
I don't know, but I want it.
Probably work in a bar to start.
Probably that. Yeah, know what you're talking about would be a good start. Rather than just, drinking a lot.
Some level of competency. Rather than just being some fuckwit on the internet.
What is that? Shaken in a what glass?
Coupe, stir all ingredients, and that's in capital letters on Difford. Stir.
It is, because
all ingredients with ice.
It's like the outlier thing to do, because you're what's the word? Your instinct is to shake everything, but so to stir is you got to make sure.
You remember when I said I went to Paris and I went into Harry's bar and had, and I hate to say this because I love the place, the worst White Russian I've ever had.
Yeah.
They just chucked all the ingredients into a shaker and shook it, and milk just froths.
Yeah.
And it was awful. It's like, oh shit, no, that's the worst White Russian I've ever had.
Oh, mate.
Yeah, well, it wasn't on their menu.
Well, I don't care, mate. I think if you're Harry's bar, then you should know how to make a fucking White Russian.
Yeah, I was quite surprised by it.
I have never made one before, and I reckon I'd have a better stab at it than that.
I'd be interested to see what you did. Having had the benefit of very, very, very many of them to say what a good one is.
I have to make you one day. I would look up the recipe first, but I'll have to make you one. I like a black Russian, a proper black Russian, which is just Kahlua and vodka in the right proportions.
Oh yeah, I hate it when people add Coke.
Yeah, well, it's not. Yeah, that's not what black Russian is.
No.
But yeah, basically what happens is I go through everything in my drinks cabinet, and usually left with some vodka and some Kahlua, so I go on to the black Russians. They're really, I can't remember the ratio I use. Maybe it will come up at some point, but I think it's heavier than on the Kahlua than most others. But it's really nice, really very, very drinkable. Sorry, what was that drink called?
The Uncut Gem.
The Uncut Gem. You're talking about Soul Blade? Yes, of course. Yeah. No, I like that.
I've always thought Soul Blade, as good as it is, and it is good, when it came out, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Played it probably for about a year. Once you've played Soul Calibur, it's very hard to go back.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
It's the raw ingredient and the finished product, as far as I'm concerned. So what have you got for us?
I have got for you a drink, whereas yours had some thought behind it and some, some provenance, if you like, and I'm on board with all of it. I just went for the name. The drink is named after the way the drink works, which also, so basically it's slightly more deep, but accidentally so. Anyway, I've gone for the Backstabber.
Nice.
So named, and this is true. This is how the guy who created it, Australian, from an Australian bar. I don't know that he is Australian because his name is Boudewijn Volk.
Okay.
Which I would guess Dutch. Got a J in it, so where it shouldn't have, so probably Dutch.
Yeah, probably Dutch.
Where he says it starts off fruity and it's like, oh, that's a really nice drink, and then it's got ginger in it, and that comes right at the end of the drink. It really does. It tastes like gin and lime are the sort of the main flavours, and then the ginger comes right at the end as a little kick in the back. Great stuff. And brilliantly, on our friend Difford's guide, if you've not visited before, all the cocktails have like a comment section afterwards where people sort of post their comments on it, and the guy who invented it himself has had put a little comment on there. So it was invented in 2020, and he's on there in 2020 saying, grateful to see my signature cocktail on this bartender platform. Give it a try and let me know what you think. Nice. I won't leave a comment because that was the last comment made, and it was 4 years ago, so he's clearly not paying attention anymore. But I will I will let you know, if you're listening, Boudewijn, that your drinks are lovely. So we have, for the Backstabber, 60ml of dry gin, which is the gin, that you buy, dry gin. 20ml of lime juice, 15ml, it says here, of homemade ginger juice syrup. I just use the syrup that comes out of a tub of crystallised ginger, because it tastes of ginger and it's sweet, so it's perfect. Well, it seems to be perfect to me anyway. 2 dashes of Angostura bitters and 15ml of egg white, which I will tell you is about as much egg white as you get out of an egg.
Okay.
Fortunately.
Joe, I've got this open on Difford's website, and do you know what this looks like to me?
Are you going to say it looks like that medicine we had as kids?
No, but now you say that, yeah. I see it. I can see that. No, this reminds me of the Bunny, which was one of the Lebowski's White Russians, which is very pink.
Oh, okay.
But has like a whipped cream topper to it. It kind of looks milky, but as soon as you said egg white, I thought, oh, I don't want it now.
Yeah, so this is the thing, egg white. I can't normally do egg white in cocktails. All egg white does in cocktails, it adds a bit of body, a little bit of sweetness, bit of texture. That's it. So yeah, I can't normally do them because I have chickens. So all my eggs come straight from a chicken, still warm, covered in shit. This is, proper eggs. So you don't want to be using unpasteurized egg in anything really. There is a lot of nonsense talked about eggs and what you should do. People, if you're washing your eggs, stop it. If you're keeping your eggs in the fridge, stop it. There is no point to any of this. All you're doing if you wash an egg is making the shell porous, which it isn't, and all you're doing if you keep it in the fridge is making it take longer to cook, which is stupid. Right, so basically, but pasteurised will, if you shouldn't eat a raw unpasteurised egg. So raw egg white is obviously what's going to go into a cocktail. So as winter is coming, because in the UK we've skipped straight from summer into winter.
Coming? It's here.
Yeah, right. My chickens have stopped laying, so for the first time this year we've had to buy eggs.
Oh,
fucking buy organic free range eggs, people. Jesus Christ, 20p, it means more to them than it does to you. Sorry.
It's all right.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to go into it now, and this is not getting cut. The first chickens I ever got were ex-battery farm chickens, and they come out of that battery farm looking like death. They were grey, half their feathers were missing, they stank, they had the end of their beaks chopped off so they couldn't peck each other. Right? Do not buy cheap eggs, it's not worth it. Stop it. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Anyway, thanks to winter coming, chickens don't lay as many eggs in winter, so I had to buy eggs for the first time this year, so I had egg white so I could try this cocktail, and it is delicious. I particularly like ginger, so that's kind of won me over to putting ginger in it. So it looks great. On the Difford's picture, it's very, very pink. It's probably a little bit browner than that in real life. All the colour comes from the Angostura Bitters. There's nothing else that's really got much colour in it in there.
I was going to say, because gin's clear, lime juice, a little bit of colour to it.
A little bit muddy, isn't it? There's not really a lot of colour to it.
Ginger syrup, probably brown.
Yeah.
Egg white.
Yeah, ginger.
I'd try it. I wouldn't expect to like it.
I think you might be pleasantly surprised.
I like to be pleasantly surprised. Yeah. That's the best kind of surprise.
Did you know what? It really is. I mean, unpleasantly surprised.
Yeah, exactly. Given the choice, I'd rather be pleasantly surprised. Thank you.
So yeah, no, I highly recommend it. It's served in just they call it an old-fashioned glass, so it's basically a tumbler.
Tumbler. Always a tumbler for me.
Yeah. But yeah, really, really nice, and it does, as the bloke who invented it says. I assume it's Budavine is a bloke.
Good question.
Yeah, as he says, it is. It's nice, like gin and lime juice and all these sort of things go really nice, and it has that nice, fresh, zesty kind of thing to it. And then it stabs you in the back with a ginger at the last minute. It's a very cool drink. Liked it a lot. Next time out, Dave has chosen Doom. So if you, like me, don't know a lot about Doom, tune in next time to hear Dave teach me about Doom. If you do know a lot about Doom, tune in to hear me spout a lot of bullshit about PC games. Because it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. One of the most influential, if not the most influential video game of all time, next time on Cocktail Mode, the podcast where gaming, like alcohol, is in our blood.